The Curious Case of Dr. Hatch Salmon. Dr. Hatch Salmon, a name whispered in hushed tones in the hallowed halls of marine biology. A name synonymous with both groundbreaking research and unhinged dairy disasters. This was a man who could identify a species of anglerfish at 50 paces but couldn't be trusted with a cheese board. He was a brilliant, eccentric soul, driven by a thirst for knowledge and an insatiable appetite for cheese. Dr. Salmon's life was a whirlwind of scientific breakthroughs and outrageous mishaps. One minute, he'd be presenting a groundbreaking paper on bioluminescent squid. The next, he'd be embroiled in a heated debate about the ethical implications of adding pineapple to pizza. This, dear reader, is the story of Dr. Hatch Salmon, marine biologist, cheese enthusiast, and a walking, talking testament to the fact that even geniuses can have their quirks. The first sign that Dr. Salmon's relationship with cheese was complicated came during a routine lab meeting. He'd been tasked with providing refreshments. Naturally, he opted for a selection of fine cheeses. As his colleagues discussed the migratory patterns of the humpback whale, Dr. Salmon hovered by the cheese board, his eyes gleaming with possessive pride. Suddenly a loud gasp ripped through the room. A young intern, oblivious to the sanctity of the cheese board, had dared to take a bite of the prized Gouda. S1, as Dr. Salmon. "My cheese!" he bellowed, snatching the mangled wheel from the intern's trembling hand. "S1, as Dr. Salmon. Do you have any idea what you've done?" This was a vintage Gouda, aged to perfection. Dr. Salmon, still fuming, stormed out of the meeting, clutching the wounded cheese like a beloved pet. If Gouda was Dr. Salmon's forbidden love, yogurt was his sworn enemy. He couldn't stand the stuff. He found its tangy tartness offensive, its smooth texture an abomination. His disdain for yogurt was well documented, often manifesting in loud public outbursts. Once, while attending a conference on marine conservation, Dr. Salmon found himself seated next to a group of yogurt enthusiasts. As they extolled the virtues of their favorite probiotic treat, Dr. Salmon could take it no more. He leapt to his feet, sending his chair clattering to the floor. "S1, as Dr. Salmon. Yogurt! It's nothing but a conspiracy by lactose-intolerant fiends to destroy the good name of dairy." His tirade, while entertaining, did little to endear him to the yogurt-loving community. He became a pariah, shunned by those who dared to enjoy the creamy concoction. Dr. Salmon's love for cheddar was as boundless as the ocean he dedicated his life to studying. However, this love was not without its perils. One fateful afternoon, Dr. Salmon decided to experiment with making his own cheddar. He envisioned a cheddar so exquisite, so mind-blowingly delicious, it would redefine the very concept of cheese. He locked himself in his lab, surrounded by beakers, Bunsen burners, and enough milk to drown a small whale. Days turned into nights as he tirelessly toiled away, driven by his cheesy ambition. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. He carefully extracted his creation from its mold, his heart pounding with anticipation. The result? A disaster. The cheddar, far from being a culinary masterpiece, resembled a lump of solidified vomit. "S1, as Dr. Salmon. No, this cannot be. My cheddar. It's a monstrosity." The failed experiment sent Dr. Salmon into a spiral of self-doubt. Word spread through the scientific community like wildfire. Dr. Hatch Salmon, the eccentric marine biologist, had stumbled upon a groundbreaking discovery. He claimed to have developed a mind control serum derived from a unique strain of bacteria found in sour cream. The scientific community was aghast. Some dismissed it as another one of Dr. Salmon's cheese-fueled delusions. Others, however, saw the potential. Could this be the key to unlocking the secrets of the human mind? The debate raged on, fueling Dr. Salmon's ego. "But Dr. Salmon, have you considered the ethical implications?" During a heated symposium, Dr. Salmon finally snapped. Unable to contain himself, he leaped onto the stage, eyes blazing with manic energy. His outburst was met with a mixture of amusement and concern. Security guards were called, and Dr. Salmon was escorted from the premises, still ranting about his sour cream serum. Dr. Salmon's love for blue cheese was a tale as old as time, or at least as old as his last grocery run. He adored the pungent aroma, the sharp, tangy flavour that danced on his taste buds. He believed that blue cheese was the thinking person's cheese, a delicacy only true connoisseurs could appreciate. Unfortunately, not everyone shared his enthusiasm. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. "It's the blue cheese, you idiots! I was just enjoying a little snack." One particularly unfortunate evening, Dr. Salmon decided to indulge in his favourite blue cheese and crackers. He settled down in his living room, a contented smile on his face, as the pungent aroma of the cheese filled the air. However, his moment of cheesy bliss was short-lived. The neighbours, driven to distraction by the overwhelming stench emanating from Dr. Salmon's apartment, called the authorities. Within minutes, his apartment door was being battered down by a SWAT team, convinced they were dealing with a hazardous materials situation.
"Sir, step away from the cheese."
The incident made the local news, much to Dr. Salmon's embarrassment. Section 7. The Puppet Redemption. After the blue cheese debacle, Dr. Salmon decided it was time for a change. He needed a new outlet for his creative energy, something less likely to attract the attention of law enforcement. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. That's when I discovered the magical world of puppetry. He envisioned heartwarming puppet shows that would educate and entertain children about the wonders of the ocean. He poured his heart and soul into creating elaborate puppets, each one more whimsical and unique than the last. He even converted his spare bedroom into a miniature puppet theatre, complete with velvet curtains and a working miniature spotlight. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. I named my troupe Dr. Salmon's Seafaring Sensations, and dreamed of captivating audiences with tales of courageous crustaceans and singing seahorses. Little did he know, his foray into puppetry would prove just as chaotic as his cheese-filled escapades. Section 8. Cheesy Void Calamity. Dr. Salmon's first puppet production, The Cheesy Void, was, to put it mildly, a disaster. The play, an allegorical tale about a young cheddar cheese's journey to find meaning in a world obsessed with mozzarella, was met with blank stares from the audience of bewildered children. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. The puppets, controlled by my less-than-nimble fingers, moved with all the grace of a drunken octopus. Dialogue was forgotten, props fell apart, and the grand finale, which involved a miniature volcano erupting with cheese sauce, malfunctioned spectacularly, covering the first 3 rows in a sticky orange goo. The children, far from being entertained, were traumatized. Parents demanded refunds. The local newspaper ran a scathing review titled "Dr. Doom's Dairy Disaster." Section 9. The Great Cheese Heist Fiasco. Despite the epic failure of The Cheesy Void, Dr. Salmon couldn't resist the allure of the puppet stage for long. He decided to try again, this time with a more action-packed adventure called The Great Cheese Heist. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. I envisioned car chases, daring escapes, and a cast of characters inspired by my favourite cheeses. The plot revolved around a daring heist to steal the world's largest wheel of cheddar from a heavily guarded cheese factory. The ringleader, a smooth-talking Roquefort with a penchant for disguises. His accomplices, a gruff but lovable Parmesan and a hyperactive Gorgonzola with a knack for explosives, made of cheese, of course. Unfortunately, the production was plagued with problems from the start. The Roquefort puppet kept losing its fake moustache, the Parmesan's voice sounded suspiciously like a constipated walrus, and the Gorgonzola's cheese explosives refused to detonate on cue. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. The grand finale, which involved a daring escape on a miniature cheese-shaped hot air balloon, ended in disaster when the balloon caught fire. Section 10. A Legacy of Laughter and Lactose. Dr. Hatch. Salmon never quite achieved his dream of becoming a world-renowned puppeteer. His attempts at entertaining children were met with more screams than cheers. His legacy, however, lived on in the annals of the marine biology department as a legend whispered among colleagues. He was a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most brilliant minds can be undone by their own eccentricities. S1, as Dr. Hatch Salmon. But he was also an inspiration, a testament to the fact that it's okay to be passionate, even if those passions lead to cheese-fueled meltdowns and disastrous puppet shows. Dr. Salmon's story is a reminder that life is a series of unexpected adventures, some more cheesy than others.